Hey guys, welcome to Indie Game Hustle. In this video, we're going to take a quick look at how to create and edit a map with some of the basic tools that are built into RPG Bakin. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we want to do is go over in your UI. You see this area here where it says map list. Go ahead and click that. Inside of the map list, you may have a folder or you may not, but this does give you the ability to organize your maps. So right now I have a map folder called scene testing. And so what I'm going to do is click on add. All right. So once you click on that, you're going to get a pop-up that says create map. And here you'll be able to set up some pretty basic settings. And you can also name your map here. So we're just going to call it test map. All right, cool. And here you can change the map size. You can do 25 by 25, you can go 100 by 100, whatever you want to do. And then you can also mess with some of the texture settings as well. We won't get into all of these details here, but you do have this option to kind of play with some of these settings. But then you have a really nice option here called auto generation. So I'm going to actually go ahead to click on this. Inside of auto generation, you have the ability to set the map size. So let's just say 40 by 25. And then we can base the terrain, we can do random, and pretty much anything here. And then we can hit preview or not, but what we want to do is hit generate. And so if we hit generate, it goes crazy. I probably would not use this, like, honestly, like, that's crazy. I wouldn't do that. So let's just turn random off because that completely breaks it. Hit generate. That's more likely. All right, cool. So we got your 25 by 40, which is pretty cool. And so once you do that, you can also change all these different, I call them heat maps, but as you can see, the lighter is, I think, higher and the dark is lower, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, it's in one of those directions. You can go flat, of course, or you can just go like this. Cool. So once you've set up all these cool different settings here, you would want to go ahead and hit OK. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Cool. So now we have a pretty basic map created using the auto generator. And so the first thing I'm going to do is kind of just walk through some of the basic tools just to get started with RPG Bakin. So the first thing you would probably want to look at is at the bottom. At the bottom of your screen, it says selection target. Now there's three options here. You have terrains, objects only, and then you have terrain and objects. Ultimately, this allows you, if you have this selected, this allows you to select a terrain as needed. The second one allows you to select only objects, so you can't really select the terrain. As you can see, even if I highlight, it doesn't, because it doesn't see or notice any objects on the scene. So just to demonstrate that, I'll grab a bush and I'll put that bush here. And so now we have a bush in our scene. And so now if I go to my selection tool, I can select this, but I cannot select the terrain, and vice versa. If I go now with the terrain selection, I cannot select the bush. Now the third option is both. So you can select both the terrain and the bush. And so if you use the move tool, in this case, you're just going to move the bush itself. But if you do this, it's going to do that. So I don't personally use this one. As I've been using it and learning it, I've only really just been using terrains only or objects only. So just keep that in mind. Cool. So I'll go ahead and delete that. Another thing to take a look at is when you have a terrain selected, or any object actually in Bakin, you get this quick toolbar here, and it's pretty much a contextual toolbar. So if you do, I'm going to go ahead and add this back. If you do have a bush or an object selected, for that matter, it's going to give you some information or some additional options so that you can rotate the bush, you can bring it up, you can bring it down, you can increase the scale. if you need to. You can decrease it if you need to, that sort of thing. And you can also turn it into an event. Now, we're not talking about events in this video, but you can also convert this into an event. So that's pretty cool. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this using the delete button there. Cool. So the first thing we want to do is look at the tools on the right side of your screen. Now, the first three, I don't use all of these, but the first three are going to be your selection tools. The first one is the standard, as you can see, it's a rectangle tool. The next one is more like a line tool. So as you can see, I'm kind of drawing like a line here and there. And then the next one is it's like a lasso tool, or they call it the enclosed tool. So for instance, if I start here and I go here and then I kind of do here, but I stop, it's going to take this point here and connect it all the way to my first, just like that. All right. So if you were trying to create something here, or you wanted to select something within that particular range without having to do something like this or whatever, then you can use the enclosed tool. Now, some of these other tools are going to give you options like selecting the same layer, like the same level. So this is going to select the same level of those. I think this one is very similar. I don't know exactly the difference. So if you guys know in the comments, feel free to let me know. This X tool here, this is going to be some of the drawing tools, so I'm not going to get into those. One of these tools though, this terrain raise and lower pin, I really do like this tool because what it does, I'm going to actually do something real quick to demonstrate it. I'm going to take my selection using the rectangle tool, and I'm going to right click in this area. And what I want to do is lower it to one elevation, just like that. And so what I did, what that ultimately is, I'll show you. So basically what that does is, say for instance, I select this here, and let's make sure wherever my raise tool is. So if your quick toolbar ever disappears, just go to view and go to quick toolbar, and it should give us the toolbar back. All right, cool. So what I'm gonna do is create this, and I'm gonna raise this up. So this here is raising it up by 1, and I can lower it by 1. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this up, and then I'm gonna select here, and I'm gonna bring this up, and then I'm gonna select here, and I'm gonna bring this up, just like so. All right, and just for extra purposes here, I'm going to go ahead and change the color of this. So what I'm going to do is select the fill tool, and then I'm going to go to terrains, and then I'm going to fill it with either a texture. Let's see here, a texture. You can do that, or you can fill it with a color. I typically actually do like doing this type of stuff because I like gray blocking, and we're going to gray block some levels here soon in a couple videos for sure. Because I spent a lot of time in Unity gray blocking, and so I really do enjoy that process. So here, I'm going to just go ahead and go with a basic here. And so what I'll do is, say for instance, and maybe it's hard to see, so let's actually change it to a grassy look. There, that's easier. All right, so say for instance, we have these two objects, or these two heights selected. So we have this one, and then this is lower. Because I have them both selected and I right click, if you hit align at lower elevation, then it's going to take all of these and bring them to the lowest option, just like so. Now I'm going to do a Control Z. If I do right click and do higher, you guessed it, it's going to do that. And so even if I do something like this, and you do lower or higher, it's going to take it all the way down. Or if you, sorry about that, go back and repaint, there we go. So if I were to take all this and I right click and make it higher, it does the same thing. So that's a really nice option to have when you're making really quick edits. So for instance, if I wanted to do this, and you're like, I want these to come down here, but you don't want to like have to do each one at a time, So what you would do is simply right click and you can say, I want it to be at that height, just like so. And then if I wanted to do this, I could just do the same thing, lower elevation. So now you kind of created a little area for your game or your section based on that. Awesome. All right. So there's some other terrain editing things you can kind of play with here. And my full expectation is for you to get in here and play. There's a lots of tools and lots of ways of doing things, but I really do believe that just kind of understanding it a little bit and then you kind of experimenting for yourself goes a long way to learning it. So next thing you can do is, for instance, say I want to turn this into some type of stairway or slope, so I can select these. If I right click, I can make it into stairs. There's also the tool here. If you want to select this, you can turn it into tool, turn it into stairs that way. If you look at the pictures and then you look at your scene, you can tell that it's based on the direction that you actually need it to look at it. So for instance, I need the stairs to kind of come this way. And so this will be the one I would select and I would hit OK. And there you have it. But if these stairs are, like, say you want, instead of just 2 or 3 stairs, let's try it again. And you can change it, I think, up to 4. So if we want just 2, let's see, did I select the wrong one? So let's select them all, right click, then I make stairs, and if I select 2, hit OK, and then it does it this way. Now obviously if we were using like the size of the Bakin characters, I would probably just go with 4, but just keep in mind that's how that kind of works. So I do like the way that works, but that's typically pretty much what you would probably do. And then you can do the same thing here. So if you were to do, instead of stairs, you can do slopes. So if you want to make it a slope, it's the same concept. Exactly. So that's pretty nice as well. Great. All right. So it's not that hard to actually manipulate. I really do like Bakin's tile system. It's pretty self-explanatory and it's pretty straightforward, to be honest with you. And yeah, so I would say take your time, go in, play with some of these tools, go in and mess with it and see what you can get and learn from some of the mistakes you're going to make, because I know I've learned from them and I'm still learning because I'm new to it, just like you may be. All right, cool. Well, I'll see you guys in the next video. I will probably talk about more about maybe texturing, and then I also want to get into bringing in your own terrain as opposed to using Bakin's built-in terrain. So I have some pretty cool tricks I think that would be useful for you guys. So I'll see you guys in the next video.